Thursday, November 16th. I cannot believe it's already November, but we're still going strong. And today, I am very honored to have on my I Love Learning podcast, Cody McClain. I know Cody. Cody and I connected right away because Cody's background is education. He was a special education teacher, and that's what I did. So instantly, Cody and I had a connection with education. So, Cody, go ahead and introduce yourself to everyone out there today. Tell them who you are and really what you're passionate about.
All right. Well, first of all, thank you. Thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure. I always love talking good stuff about our company and about Luma and just education in general. So I'm glad to be here. Well, like Gina said, my name's Cody McClain. I'm the Vice President of Safety and HR for Tucker Freight Lines. I've been with my current with the company for about 5.5 years now. It is a family business, and before that, I was a special education teacher. Um,
Yes.
so I decided to make a career change when approached by my sister and brother-in-law about 5.5 years ago that wanted someone they knew and someone that they knew would help build a culture and change what they had in the company they bought. And I after talking through it with my wife and family and everybody said, let's do it. Let's jump into the trucking world. It's a family business. My dad still drives part-time for us and has driven my whole life. My grandpa drove, my brother-in-law, who's owners with my sister, drove, and it's part of our blood, I think.
I love that. Absolutely. It's so awesome that Cody is able to support. And I told Cody, I think of him as an entrepreneur because entrepreneurs really have a lot of grit and they really create a culture of the people around you and they fight for what they believe in or are passionate about. And one thing about Cody that I know, he has a heart of gold and he really cares a lot about the drivers and the people at his company, and it was really interesting. So I was at a discussion just a few months ago, and Cody's employees said to me, and he didn't pay them off, and they said to me, I don't think so, but they were like, the reason why they stay at their organization is because of Cody and just because of his caring and his leadership. And so I thought this is somebody that really needs to speak to the community on, what inspires him and makes him who he is, and let's get inside of Cody, because if we could replicate Cody for goodness for everybody, the world would be better. So Cody, tell everyone on the call today, I really want to know, like, you hear that about your employees saying that about you. What really inspires you? Like, what makes you tick? What inspires you?
Um, well, I guess that's amazing to hear. I don't know if you can see I'm red faced all the time, but I'm blushing, I guess. What Something that makes me tick though is you know this organization, what has been built by Sonny and AJ, myself, to other people in the organization is a culture that's a little bit different than anything I've really ever experienced. But it's a true care. It's truly caring about our drivers, our people, being very passionate about that. My dad, like I said, drove my whole life, and growing up, knowing the times where it's snowing, living in the Midwest, it's snowing, there's
No
ice, there's
kidding.
weather, there's deer running around, it's everything under the sun, and knowing that he's out there doing things like that, it's something that I want to help. As an educator in my previous life, I want to help our current drivers to develop the habits, the skills, the mindsets to be successful, to get home safely every day, to see their families and loved ones and friends and everything under the sun there. And that doesn't just go for our drivers; it goes for everybody in our organization. I just want them to be successful, and when everybody's successful and they enjoy what they're doing, that makes the organization successful. And it's something that I think we've built here, and it's something that we want to continue to push and strive with. So
Absolutely. I love that. One of the things you said that really resonates with me is this idea of truly caring. I think that one of the things that if you meet Cody on the street or you meet him at a conference, one thing you'll know about Cody, and I knew within the first 3 minutes of talking to him, is that he's authentic. And that he truly does care and he wants good for anyone around him. And one of the things that I study and I'm really interested in, and I try to teach others on, Cody, is this idea of authenticity and what that means. And so when you talk about caring and authenticity to you, like, how would you define that, or how do you portray that at your organization or with your leadership?
It comes back to the relationships, honestly. We really push, our dispatch, our safety coaches, anyone in the organization to build relationships with our drivers, to make sure that they know that they're valued as a person, not as a driver or as a number, or whatever that may be. But truly building those relationships, because if they have that relationship built, that's truly what's going to be authentic. It's not just me telling them something. It's not me just giving a scenario or a policy or procedure. It's letting them know why I'm doing it with the relationship that's built, but letting them know that, we're doing it for a reason. We're doing it because we care about them. We want them to be successful. We want them to get home and to make sure that they're accomplishing the things that they want to accomplish. And that to me is what makes it truly authentic, is that it's meaningful to them, but it's also meaningful to us.
Absolutely. Building that authenticity across your organization is critical. What kinds of things do you do, Cody, at your organization to build that authenticity in those relationships? Do you have any tips for somebody that might be struggling with doing that at their organization?
Yeah. So we started right from the beginning. We set very high expectations for our drivers. We don't sugarcoat that. We don't say we're not going to have high expectations. It's high expectations for productivity, for safety, for their how they function. Our core values are safety, service, positive attitude, and respect.
Oh,
And
that's outstanding.
those bars they have to meet. And
Mhm.
but we'll help them make those bars. And it starts with when they start in onboarding, they're here and we roll out the red carpet, but we also give them expectations, show them how we'll meet it. They get to meet everyone that's available to meet, obviously, at that time. And we start building that relationship right away. We continue to have those touch points, those relationship key builds. During that time, when we meet with them, sometimes it's in the phone, sometimes it's face to face. It just depends on where they're at. If it's a terminal they can be at, if it's a location that we're at, it all depends on what fleet and all that kind of stuff they're in. But we truly do want them to understand that we care, that we're not perfect. We understand that nobody's perfect, but we're going to try really hard. We're going to try as hard as anybody can out there.
Yeah, absolutely. This idea of caring, it was interesting. You think of a kind of a male dominated industry. I hear this a lot, like with caring. It's like, well, that's kind of this for sissies, like caring. But what we're finding, and we were talking earlier about this epidemic we're facing with people being lonely and isolated, and it's just so foundational that we do express this idea of care. Cody, do you think that this seems like it's ingrained as part of who you are? Is there been a time in your life that maybe you learned this, or like, how did it come to be? Was there something in your thinking or in your education that you think was pivotal in kind of framing where you are today, or had an impact on who you are and your thinking on this?
Yeah. So when I was teaching special education for elementary students, I was doing reading, math, but I did a lot of trying to help students change their behaviors. And one of the things that I really, really, truly believed was when I could give them a positive mindset, help them have a positive mindset, that they would become more successful. And I started working on my master's degree, and when I was working through that, my action research was based on how positive mindset can affect assessment scores. And we had students who, before they would take their assessments, before they would do certain things, we would talk about, they'd have to give me one gratitude or share one thing that was positive that happened to them that day or that week or whatever. It could have been could have been they rode their bike. It could have been they tied their shoe.
That.
It could have been Christmas is coming up. It could be anything. And I've translated that now as we've grown what we do in our organization here. I do that with my safety department. We share positives all the time. We talk about them giving our drivers positive sandwiches, we call it, and that's kind of a corny way of saying start with a positive. You're going to have the hard conversations with them. You're going to have to coach them up on their behaviors and try to change that behavior. But if you give them a positive to start, they're already in a better mindset to start, and they're thinking about how they can be successful. And I truly believe that. And I think that kind of goes across the board. I think that's something that if people in general across the world just use a little bit more of a positive mindset, it would really help them and help their successes in general.
Yeah, Cody, I got to show you something. So this is just by chance. Today is Thursday, right? I've been traveling. I think it is.
Yes.
So this is today. This is my calendar of the day. So these were the calendars we sent. So this is today's calendar. And if you can read it, it says, "Why say I can't when you could say I will? Show those challenges who the head honcho is." That's today's challenge. And it just so be it that Cody reinforced the positive mindset. And we didn't plan that, y'all. That was just by chance. But I will say this, right, Cody? I didn't prompt that. That was just how it was, right? So one of the things that I've been studying, and it's clearly documented in the research, is how a negative mindset can actually be more powerful in reinforcing that connection of the neurons in your brain than a positive. So you should never think to yourself you can't. You should just say I will, like the calendar says, to reinforce that. And Cody, sometimes what's that?
Be the head honcho.
Be the head honcho. Absolutely. That's what we're going to take into this holiday season for sure. There, is a lot of challenging times. And so when people overcome an obstacle, maybe there's been a time in your life, it sounds like the master's degree might have been a time where maybe you had to make a pivot in your life, or maybe you dealt with something that was really challenging, or maybe one of your employees or learners had this like negative mindset. How did you help someone overcome? Because when you get down in that and you reach a challenge, sometimes it's hard to get out. How do you deal with that?
It's just being persistent. Just keep going, I guess, is the biggest thing with that. I'm kind of an odd backstory. I was in education for 5 years. I was I went to college, I quit college, I went back to college after full-time working. And I'm one of those people where I say, I quit college and I left and because I wasn't passionate about it at that time. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And when I figured out what I wanted to do, and that was, being an educator of some sort, helping people be successful, that was a change for me, right? And then I knew what I wanted. I was persistent on it. I kept going after that. We have that happen all the time with our drivers. There's times where they're so used to a situation or a way that other companies have functioned, or the mindset they have that they have to, maybe it's speed, maybe it's a certain behavior that they have. We're just persistent on it. We'd rather coach them up and get them there than not. We've had drivers where you never thought they would change that behavior. And once they do, they thank you.
Wow.
I had a driver one time tell me, I never thought I'd actually buy into what you were saying, but once I did, when I got home, my wife told me I was just a nicer person. Because he was less stressed. He was so much less stressed, and I got him as a huge win. And we overall were more successful. Our company was more successful because he was safer. He was less of a risk, and he was happier when he got home. So why not have the win-wins?
Exactly. Gosh, y'all, Cody's over there changing people's lives. I love it. It's absolutely what you want.
That's the whole team there. That's not just
it's all awesome. The whole team comes together to really situate and help people overcome these hurdles. So can you give us like a specific example of like if somebody came into your office and they said I can't do that. How do you help them go beyond this idea in their mindset that they can't do it? what would you tell that person that comes into your office?
First thing I'd ask is why? Why do you think you can't do that? That's the first
Mm-hmm.
step. A lot of times they don't know why they can't do it, and then it's
Mm-hmm.
okay. What's one idea? What's one idea we can try to put in place to make it work? What's one idea we can take to make a step, turn that dial 1% better? And then once you do that, an idea sparks an idea and sparks an idea, and then you already have their buy-in because it's they're part of the process of making the solution.
Yeah.
And that solution is really what you're looking for. You're not.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not. I say positive attitude and positive mindset. I'm not one to say that it's all rainbows and sunshines at all time. I get down. Everybody gets down and sad.
Right.
That's part of it. But it's the idea of how do you get past that and that positive mindset to turn that and have the grit to keep moving, to find the answer, to find the solution. Trucking's hard. It's it's a negative, hard world a lot out there. Drivers are dealing with a lot of hard things.
Mm-hmm.
And if we can be that kind of that positive light and that how do we get past it and find a solution organization, I think that's just it's gonna lend to us being successful and continue to be successful.
Definitely working together. And you made a really good point. That driver that comes in isn't alone. That driver, he or she has the ability to get help from you and from others on your team. It's difficult if you have an addiction or you're feeling really depressed to get out of that alone. I mean, nobody can do most anything alone. Everybody has a coach in life. I mean, Tiger Woods had a coach. Tiger Woods is the great one of I don't know, we'll get in a debate here, but one of the greatest golf players on the planet. Serena Williams, the greatest female tennis player, had a coach.
Mm-hmm.
I have a running coach. I need a coach. I'm a terrible runner, but everybody needs a coach, right? And that helps you get better and just elevate your game. As a leader, you need a coach. You have mentors. There's nothing wrong with saying you need help.
Yep.
Right?
And that's where a lot of our office staff, we really try to push that when they're talking to drivers. They're not the ones out there on the road. The driver's the one doing the hard job. They're the one doing the difficult task. We just want to be the ones that help them get there. And a coach to me is someone who helps you strive to get to your best potential. And that's what I want. Our safety coaches in our organization, our dispatchers, our recruiters, maintenance staff, everybody under the umbrella of Tucker Freight Lines. We want to make sure that we're helping our drivers and our other staff to strive to be the best they can.
Absolutely.
That just ties in with success.
You just gave me goosebumps because honestly, I feel like having an organization where you coach and help and lift each other up is absolutely the best way to make you stronger, because together you can really help each other. If 1 in 4 people are lonely at an organization, everybody can help lift each other up. You don't know if the person sitting next to you is lonely, and I think it's important that we continue to lift each other up. So Cody, a lot of times people will come to me and they'll say, Gina, you know what? I actually had someone tell me this yesterday at the captive group that I spoke to. My wife has lost her passion to learn. She just doesn't want to learn. I'm suspecting that person is lonely. I can give a whole bunch of strategies for getting out of that. But what would you recommend if someone came to you at your organization and said, I've just lost my passion to learn? What would you say to them, or what would you recommend to them?
That's tough because you don't know what their passion was unless they're willing to tell you. But I think for me, the first step is to ask them if they're all right, what I can do to help them find that passion, different things I could do to help them maybe change their course of what they're doing to find a passion. Everybody's got their jobs, got their careers, but sometimes it just takes a little bit of a tweak, right? Sometimes it's a big tweak. Sometimes it's jumping from one profession to another. Like that happens. But sometimes it's just a little tweak to find that passion again. And I think a lot of it is just, can you communicate with them openly? Hey, what do you need? What are your goals? What do you think you want? Let's try something. If it doesn't work, let's try something else. Those are the types of things that I would tell someone to do. Take the first step.
Yeah, definitely take the first step. Even if the first step is getting out of bed, even if the first step is Going outside for the first 15 minutes of the day, you know, natural light for the brain wakes it up and it actually makes you feel better. Believe it or
Sure
not,
does.
there's research that shows that if you go out and instead of spending 15 minutes looking at your phone the first 15 minutes you're awake, going outside and taking a walk can do wonders for your mental state and your mindset. So, one thing
Absolutely.
that Cody talked about a little bit there was he gave an example of how he's a coach. He's coaching that person to be a better version of themselves. So I definitely think it's important. A really big takeaway from today's I Love Learning is just to know that you're not alone and you have people around you that care and want to help. And Cody is definitely one of those people that is a star and really is there to help his drivers and his employees. Absolutely. So Cody, if there's something, what else if you want to leave some kind of lasting advice for my viewership of maybe something that you would want them to take away and put in their pocket when they're not connected with you, what would you say to them?
So my team, people that I work with here, they would probably laugh because they probably know what I'm about to say. But
Uh-oh.
it's all about relationships for me. It's all about the relationships. It's all about that person, you yourself. It's all about relationships. And one thing I say all the time, I've heard it. There's lots of quotes out there, and I've seen it, but I say it all the time to our safety coaches, to our dispatchers. But I always say, rules without relationships equals rebellion. And
Oh,
if you
I've never
don't
heard that.
really,
Yeah.
I've seen it all over the place. I've heard it from a few different people, and I take it to heart. If I can make any rule or policy or procedure, but if I don't have the relationship built to help coach them on it, to
Mhm.
explain it, put expectations in place, to help guide them when they make the mistake against that thing, it's all for nothing. Then
Absolutely.
they're gonna rebel.
Building relationships, right? They're going to rebel. Building those relationships, getting input from your team. I had my team tell me today, Cody, they all want me to buy them sweatpants. So I might be in for that. I don't know. We'll see. But absolutely building those relationships. Cody, thank you so much for
Yeah, thank
being on
you.
my I Love Learning podcast and sharing your story. Entrepreneur, innovator, inspire, leader, uh, family oriented. I can't say enough about Cody. All right, Cody, if people want to connect with you and get plugged in and maybe they're struggling and they've lost their passion, how can they reach you?
You can direct message me right on LinkedIn. That's probably the easiest way to do it. My, I'm willing to give my email out if anybody reaches out, things like that. But probably LinkedIn would be the easiest.
Got it. Find Cody, LinkedIn. Cody, thanks for being here today.
It's my pleasure. Thank you very much, Gina.